like a small, maybe, what can we do? A small user management system. No, let's do a task manager. A small task manager. And then I'm going to use Java, Maven. Okay, so which dependencies are we going to use? And Postgres. Okay. Now, this is my empty project. Okay, first things first, let's first add in those. Okay, the other things that we used yesterday, I copied and pasted. You remember them? And I'm going to use create. It's downloading the dependencies. Let's first wait for it. I copied those ones that we used yesterday because they are the same. So we will write them as those. Okay, for now we're going to use create and drop. We're going to create a database called task manager. Yeah, I think this is it.
How do you want?
Okay, because I want, okay, for now ndashaka ko ibintu byose dukora biba kwa ko tujya ariko tugiye gutangira ndashaka nzi muri na tables nirangiza creatinga I'll change this to date kugira ngo itongera kudukoramo ibintu byacu bibanza checking ko bimeze kimwe. What and what and what. Here, no. Haya. Aha, wapi. Here we're specifying the action that Spring JPA will do when we start our application. The minute we'll first delete our tables and then create new ones. Okay, let's go in pgadmin and then create the database that we're going to use. Are you following? created it. Now let's now we are going to do what? To create a package to store everything related to managing tasks, right? In this framework, it's better to organize your code by feature. If it's everything related to users, you keep it in a package called maybe users. If it's everything related to tasks, you keep it in a package called the task. If it's everything related to categories, you create a package called category. So for now, we're going to work with task. Is it here? Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that I'm going to do, for me, I prefer renaming this. That's what I prefer. I don't want those long lines. So now we're going to create a task entity, right? Okay. How do we do it? ID. For now, let's use the generate value. And then you use like okay, let me tell you something. Okay, this is the maximum value of an integer, right? This is the maximum value of an integer in Java. And long, this is the maximum value. So most of the time, they prefer using long so that the that table cannot exceed, like it cannot get out of space. I mean, it will continue to have to accept entries until this number is reached. So maybe a task will also have title and maybe a description for now. Let us generate the getters and setters. Data. Oh, and then okay. Okay. It's a common practice to always, okay, if you create a table, sometimes you will need to track when it was created, that entry when it was created and when it was updated. So Spring Boot has those annotations. Let's create a variable to store that. Is date. It's local date time. Created at. Also have updated that, but we annotate them using creation, timestamp, and then there we use updated timestamp. So to mean whenever we add a new task, it will automatically add the date and time on which it was created. It will also add, when you update it, it will also add when we updated it. So now we have created a table. Huh? No. No args constructor, and all args constructor. Now, if we start our app, the table should be created. Okay. It's now created, right? Yeah, we now have it. So, another thing that we need to create is to be able to access the database. It is a task repository, right? No, it is a pattern. And we extend the PA like this. Okay. There's no need of annotating it because this JPA interface already annotates it for you. So there is no need of like adding an annotation of repository. To me, it is optional. Adding this annotation is optional. Okay. And again, what we need is maybe let me start by showing you how those get mapping, post mapping, and delete mapping works. The first thing you need to do in order to create a REST API, you need to use a REST controller annotation. And then maybe let's do a small example of using a get mapping, right? Let's create a small. Let's do this. Okay. Now, when we visit localhost 8080, like this, it will show us this message, right? But again, if we like changed this to hello, this message will be shown on this URL, right? So now let's continue. Let me remove this for now and then start the app. Okay, it's starting. Now let me go in the browser and do localhost and then 8080. You see? We now have hello world. Localhost HTTP localhost then slash. But now if we change this to maybe hello, then when we visit, let me see if it reloaded it. If we visit this, we'll have an error, but when we go on hello, will give us that message. Okay. Even to use post mapping, you do the same. You do post mapping. Okay. So now let's do this. Say okay. Let's also return a string. Now to test the post request, you need to use Postman. That's why I told you to install it. You will need to use this tool. Okay, let me create another collection and call it task manager. That, and then going to add a new request. I call it whatever I want. Then I'll be using the post request and then put in I added a new correction. You name it. I added blank collection. No, click here and then blank collection, and then name it whatever you want, and then you will have this, and then add in a new request. Huh? Have you downloaded? Have you downloaded Postman? You install it. After downloading that Postman app, install it. Okay. Now we're going to put in this inside here, but change this to post. It's what we said. It will be accessed on post. You see, even the delete mapping, it will be the same, but instead of printing a message, we will be performing actions inside here. So now let's continue. Because you have created a table, we can even change this to, I don't want it to always delete my table. Let me use validate. Now let's continue. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to like I'm going to create a task service that will be that will contain our business logic, like functionalities of adding, deleting, and all that. The first thing that we should do, it is to inject the repository. Private task repository, then task repository, and then we create a constructor like this. Now the first method that we're going to do is public. You return a task, then create task. Nothing. We are extending a repository. Those all methods are located in this repository. It has a lot of methods, a lot of them. Get by, get one, delete, invite, save. It has a lot of. They are even documented, so you can be checking them. Yep. Of getting all tasks. You remember, because there will be many, we'll be using a list to get all tasks, and then we use a task repository and then find all. Are you following? Another method that we will need is a method. Okay, let's first do this too. Let me not complicate things. So now, because the task service methods are done, we're going to use these methods inside the controller and then map them inside these methods. Maybe the first method that we need here is will be, let me change this public get all public. It will return a list of tasks, then get all, and then we will need to call that method which is in task service. So we need to inject this task service inside the controller, right? But here I'm going to use, I don't want to write a lot of things. I'm going to write private file and task service. It will inject it automatically because of this required else constructor. But if I remove this, it will not be able to inject it. So, and now I'm going to say we will return task service dot get all task. You see this get all task, it is here. Now when we visit, localhost, this thing, it should show us all tasks that are in the database. Now let's do it and see. This. Ah. 88. Ah. It should not show us this thing. Table. Okay, you can see we have an empty array. I changed to update. Yari kubwira ko nta table irinze. Okay, you see we have an empty array, right? So, okay, maybe to test if this method is working, let's add in a task using queries for now, and then test if it's really working. Search into tasks. I'll only add in. No, I'm not going to use a query because there are fields that are not going to be inserted in. Instead, I'm going. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, but one thing that I want to show you, you see, when you give your APIs to the front end, they should know what routes you have, like what methods you are accepting. In fact, you should be documenting your APIs. For now, what we are going to do, guys, just follow because you'll be needing this. You visit this website called springdoc.org, and then you will copy this dependency and then come and add it in POM. And I'm going to refresh. Okay, now here's the thing. Now, when I visit, just look what I'm going to show you. Now, when I visit localhost 8080, then swagger UI.html, right? Let me see. Giving an error. Let me first restart the app. You see, these methods that we have, okay, those they are those ones that are in here. You can see it. These ones, you see, we have /post. We also have it /post, and then the other one that does, and they are all in a task controller. To mean it's generating them for you. Now you can now even test using this. You see, it's showing what it will be returning. So the front-end team will know, or when I visit this route, I'm going to get this as a response from the server. So now when we try to, you can test it here, try it out, and then execute. You see, I'm getting an empty array. So, yeah. Okay, now let me tell you, okay, maybe when we finish the session, in here you can also add in, you can define it, you can also add your names of a developer. Okay, maybe try, you can add your names indicating the developer who did these things like that, but we will see that after. Now, the best practice is when you are like creating everything related to, to a task, it's better to make sure that all of its routes start with a task thingy, like this. You use this request, is it request mapping? Request mapping, and then all of these routes, all of these things down here will be started with this. Now, let me show you when you visit. Yeah. You see, they are all starting with /tasks. If you're working with managing users, all of the routes related to users should start with /users. If it's everything related to products, it should start with /products. When it's adding, there's no need of adding this post keyword. Okay. Now they will know if they visit, this task will be using this one to like add a new task, we'll be using this to get all tasks. Another thing that you can do to make it more clear, you can add something in here. You can come and add operation keyword and then do its summary. And you say this endpoint will return all tasks. Have you seen what I've added here? Okay. You see, it's now defining what this route will do. Request mapping. Okay, normally if we don't use this, we could come on each mapping and then add maybe /tasks. Also here add /tasks. That can complicate us sometimes. Instead, we can write some okay, a pattern that is common for all these routes down here. And then this /task will be put in front of each mapping we have here. Like how it went here. You see, now every route has a slash tasks, although we didn't even put it, but it's referencing it from this request mapping. Yeah, you can add this operation keyword on each mapping. This endpoint will add a task. Now you see when we reload, this endpoint will add a task. So when the front-end team sees this, they'll know when I visit localhost /tasks, I will be able to add a new task. So this is how we'll be doing it. You can even change. For now, we're defining this. Well, we're going to define it, and then it will be clear. Now, every route that we'll be adding there, it will be shown. And then it also shows the schema to the front end. So the front end will know when I'm going to create a new task, I should provide these things so that it can be created. Okay, let's continue now. Now we're going to create this method. Wait. Okay, in here, we expect to okay, when using post, we expect to receive something, which is in form of a JSON, I mean in an object, as I told you last time. In fact, the backend, you will be dealing with JSONs and objects. That's what you'll be dealing with. Now, we need to make sure that here we have, okay, let me tell you what I mean. Okay, the post method, because it is used to add something in the database, the post method has something called a body or a payload, which it will take to the server and then insert it into the database, right? So now when creating a task, we'll be needing, so where is the table? When we are creating a task, we'll be needing only these two things. We will only need the title and then the description. So what we're going to do, we're going to make sure that only the title and description are only received from this endpoint. So a common approach that is used is creating what we call okay, let me show you. The thing is, when you are creating a new task, we don't want to let that the user will be able to insert all these things. Instead, we want the user to only insert these things only. So the common approach that is used, it is to create a separate class to contain only these two things that you want to add in the database, only these two things. So let me copy them and then come and maybe create it, task creation. No, they are DTOs, not. So imagine you have a class of user which is like this. So maybe when you are creating a user, you only want them to only add in only these four things. So there's no need of giving them access on this one. So you should remove them in what the host will be accepting. So you will be doing it like this. Task maybe creation DTO and then adding those fields to generate getters and setters, and then all args constructor and no argument constructor. And then what we want our request, our post mapping to accept, as I've told you, the post mapping accepts a body, the thing that it will be inserting into the database. So we should add in request body annotation. Request body, and then we'll be accepting the task creation detail. Okay. Let me check if it has updated. Let me refresh. As you can see, the user will only be able to add the task. If we use try it, you see, we'll be able to like add in the title description and then add it into the database. To mean everything will be added for you in the documentation. So now what you're going to do is to create the functionality. So as you can see, the task service, this method of creating a task, it accepts a task object. So what you're going to do is in the task controller, we're going to first create a task, and then say task.set maybe title, detail.get title. Yeah. And then we're going to call, now we're going to call that method. Have you seen what I've done here? the task service will be accepting a task object. What I did is I first created a new task and then added in the title and then the description, and then I passed it into the task service. So now when we try adding a new task, let's try it then. Now let's execute it. You see, this is what it returned. By accident, I clicked here twice. That's why it created two tasks. Now, if we visit, okay, no, let's visit our get, try it, and then execute. So you see, we have two tasks. Here. Task, where is the task controller? Here. Meaning we are saying we want that the request body only accepts this only to the title and then the description. That's what I added into the detail. These are even achieve. And that's the best practice. So this is, now we have created, okay, now using Postman, you can prefer using Postman instead of this. Using Postman, you can come and then this will be getting all tasks. Let's first do get all tasks. Will be a get request. Let's execute it and see. We have two tasks. Now for creating a new task, you add a new request, which is post, and then we use localhost / tasks, create new task. And then we will be adding a body. That body will be raw and then JSON. Now it should be like this: title, and then description. Let me say task 3. Let me do this. Now let's send and see. It is created. Task 4. Task 5. Now when we try to get all tasks, it will return everything. You see the other codes that I told you, 100, okay. It's saying that the server has responded the request successfully. Yeah, this is good. Now we can also, okay, let me first show you how to change this name to be more clear. You can come here and say, you add a tag annotation and then give it a name of task controller. You also give it a description, and maybe you say these are task management routes. You see, this is only for documenting your API. Sorry.
Okay, let us do the remaining other two methods, and then I'll give you time to practice. I'll be in here, and then you'll come and ask me the questions you have. Class, turangiza preparation byose bidahari ariko ikibyara iki rero ubusanzwe si itegeko ko ushaka ariko ariko no need task repository. How could you want to but your como al fin no task repository, tu fascia, tu canale tempo to gonna frame no task repository task science no, it's not contradicting. Except when I switch,
niba usuye ahantu ukamushyira ngaho ukandika urabyandika maze ibintu byo nakopiye ni mbere iyi ni documentation kandi bisobanura backend yawe bisobanura undi muntu wese wakeneye wowe ndamutse nisubiye gutya nahita mbikingura nahita menya ko ubasha kwandika ibintu cyose database n'ikintu gutya urumva akazi afite mu mu frontend backend nako amakosa reka kanaba gazakareba n'ibindi nohereza kuri server y'ibyo yakira ababizi for documentation purposes ni gusobanura bikora cyangwa dependency base Vai dar que constructor ikora constructor n'ikintu cyose kiri fayino mbega so reba hano ibintu nakoze rero ntabanje nakora yuze nahita nkura constructor hano nshyizeho fayilo nahita nshyiraho required acts constructor ikinango cyaba kigikenera ako imiti ikindi kintu niyo mpamvu nakoze n'ibitaka kwa n'ikintu byinshi muri make bifitemo ikintu cyose cyerekeye hasi biba byiza ikintu cyose gikoresha igitabo cy'amatasi kigomba gutarizwa na slash tasi niba wari usanzwe uzakora slash kugira ngo mbega biba bisobanutse avuga ati hano ndashaka ko haba hitwa get all ariko bandikamo gutya localhost /server/index.html dukoze indi controller sibyo dukoze indi controller yahita iyishyira munsi y'iyi hano yahita ihashyira ntacyo nanditse byonyine dore iyi ni unique point Springboot iri kurangira ahangaha muri make ni isura hano nashyiraho swagger.py muri make ndabonye imbere ati nyereka documentation za Springboot application ziri kurangira ndi muri kigali This is the documentation. Swagger. Okay, now let's do the remaining two methods. Okay, the first one is we're going to create a method of deleting a task. For now, let's delete a task using the ID. Let's delete a task using ID. We're going to say we're going to be using to accept an integer and then ID. And then before we delete something, we should make sure that it exists in the database. And then we are going to say task repository dot find, you see all these methods find by ID. And then we say, but this is optional. As you can see, it returns an optional value. To me, it can be null. So you say all else. All else. It's accepting a long. All else throw a new runtime exception. And then if we find it, we're going to say task repository, then delete task. This delete method, it is also in this JPL repository. So now let's also add in that endpoint here. We're going to use delete mapping. And then we define what, let's maybe document it. Then public. Then now we should find a way to get that ID. But here we're not going to get it from the body. Instead, it is better to get it from, okay. Sure. Yeah. Postman. Let's add a new request and call it delete task. And then use the delete mapping, and then localhost. And then it's better to get the ID of a task you want to delete using the parameters. So access it using a path variable. Path variable. This is the path. Okay. All of this is the path, but we are accepting to receive something on this slot. So path variable then long ID
But you see, we have parameter ID is never used and cannot resolve path variable in request mapping. It means we should put it here. Then say ID. The error is gone. This name should match this one. They should match. And then what we're going to do is task service, then delete task. We created this. Maybe. We will learn handling errors next time. You see, they are returning it, but in a bad way. We learn how to return meaningful error messages next time. Okay. Now the remaining thing is we're going to also do the update, right? Public task. Okay. After updating that task, we should update task. We will be updating the task using its ID. Update task set when the title description where ID is to this and this and this. And then we will need to get the ID and then that task, the task content that you are going to. Before updating, we should also check if that ID, that task we need to update exists. And then when we find it, we're going to change its values dot set title to the new task, and then like this, and then we set its description to the values. Okay, they are the same. Let's change this. Let me call it new task. This, and then update the task. And then after updating it, we save it. Return. After updating its values, we update it again. Yes. Okay, iyi ni ya task dukora muri database. Nitumara kuyikuramo turahita duhindura values zayo. Tuyihereza indi title nshyashya ivuye muri iyo turi gupasinga. Tuyihereza na description nshyashya, tumara kubihindura tubikore. And now let's do the controller method. It is update mapping. I mean put mapping. Put mapping and then operation summary. This will update this ID. Now let's do publish. If you return a task, update, and then we'll need its ID, and then okay. Path variable. And I put it here. ID. And we will also need the description and the title. For it, we'll get it into request body. Then task, we will use that detail that we created. And then let's first create a new task that we're going to send in there. No. Save title. And then we're going to call return task service.update, and then we pass in that ID and then this task. Now let's see if it's updated. Put mapping, this will update the task by its ID. Now, how this how we test it into import. We do a new request of put and then localhost, no, update a task. And then we will need the same things. Put them in the request body. We don't have it. It means it will give us an error. Now let's try to update. Let's try to update this fourth task. We'll provide its ID and then new things, maybe task 4 updated. Let's send it and see. Now when you try to get all task 4 updated. So this is how we do it. And then when you finish your backend, you give this to the front-end team and then they consume it. Yes, the link. This one. No. Localhost.